Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
All right, guys, we're going to give you an update on some news items. Meanwhile, we want to thank our two newest Patreons.
Indeed, we want to say a huge thank you to Miss Kelly and Miss Carolyn. You guys are awesome. Thanks for your support.
Again, thank you guys for your support over on Patreon. We couldn't do it without you guys. Russia confirms a massive barrage on targets in Ukraine. In fact, this was said by both sides to be the largest one ever. 50 different group strikes conducted, massive barrage of drones and cruise missiles. Ukraine saying that it intercepted most of those. Again, we have so much going on all around the world. It seems like there's just more and more things to keep track of as you go on. Chief of the General Staff of Poland indicates that a Russian missile entered Polish airspace. It was tracked on radar and left airspace. There's other sources saying it crash landed near a small village. Again, you have to kind of use discernment and wonder, where are they leading us? Well, I guess we know where they're leading us in the general sense. Meanwhile, another $250 million heading to Ukraine.
Oh, goody.
Yeah, again, there's obviously money always for death and destruction. And you have politicians that are entrenched, like Senator Lindsey Graham. It's a Republican from South Carolina. I was getting my pronouns confused there. Yeah, this doesn't feel like him. And watching this video, it's like, wow, okay, this does not feel like him. And again, a lot of these people have, extras. Let's just say extras. Movie set extras. Cut. Bring in the extra. Well, this feels like an extra, yet very, very aggressive extra. Let's see if we. Yeah, that's up. Okay.
Been saying for 6 months now, hit Iran. They have oil fields out in the open. They have the Revolutionary Guard headquarters you can see from space. Blow it off the. I've been saying for.
Yeah, and then you wonder, who is supporting? Because these politicians, even though it might show his net worth is $2 or $3 million, which is a hell of a lot more than the average person's net worth. Not even close to the average person's net worth. Yet the reality is he gets millions of dollars from these sources, as do these politicians. They are just supported, and their incomes are supplemented to such a high degree. You wonder, who exactly is paying them off to, go ahead and say start war with Iran or China here. Sure, just blow them off the map, he says. Yeah, you are talking WW3, and again, this is what the politicians are leading us into. And the words of Nostradamus are echoing in my head, about this great war where people will be ridiculing the leaders, saying, those stupid idiots, look what they got. Look at this, another fine mess you've gotten me into, Stanley.
Indeed, definitely. Yes.
Yes, and I know somebody's going to get that one out there.
Somebody will.
Yeah, there's somebody with a good memory. But this is the reality. They make money off of this. They're told what to do. And, all that is slowly making its way out into the general population's head. Meanwhile, large drone infiltration in Upper Galilee in Israel. And, really what's going on over in Gaza is, it's too horrible to show the pictures, because it really is. And every single bad thing that you heard said about China and the Uyghurs, or about those camps back in 1941 to 1945 in Poland and in Germany and in other places, is being equated with this. It really feels on a par energetically.
Well, it is. It's definitely really horrible, and it's ongoing, and it's something that somehow, at some point, We need to grow out of this. And I say we because collectively, this is a collective consciousness that we have going on. So we need to work on dismantling this. Like, what are we doing right now to support this happening? And I think it goes into the mainstream. You know, are you shopping mainstream food? Are you doing, you know, supporting anything mainstream? We have to baby step our way out of this, and because the money's going to this somehow, and it breaks my heart. You know, we have to pay our taxes. It's not like we can't pay our taxes because we'll just go to jail, but it's our tax dollars still going to this somehow.
And they always use our tax dollars against us is really what they do, because so much. And I made a video, one of the first ones I did, and they stuck it at 86 viewers, and it was all about how the IRS ends up sending your money outwards to the UN in so many words. And yeah, they 86'd it. You know, the views just stayed at 86. And Cindy told me, well, that means something's taken off the menu. You cannot talk about that.
It's kicked out. It never comes back.
Yeah.
It's kicked out. It never gets to come back.
And that's what they're saying, because this is how they do it. And they are so evil. And here you have Yemen, and you see a lot of public support because, you know, it's the same thing that people would feel like, again, we're purposely divided into these camps. And you see atrocities going on if you have a heart, and you're not so indoctrinated that you can somehow rationalize, because, again, indoctrination leads to rationalization. And whether it's, well, they're only savages or what have you, you know, the native people that were here in the United States, again, were kicked off their land and were herded up and put into camps. They call them reservations. Yeah. You know, this happens time and time and time again. This is the modus operandi. In fact, for those that have watched Atlantean Gardens, Robert Seffer, and there's others that look at these mass migrations of people with big question marks, saying, you know, our history is not giving us the right answers. Like who are the sea people? What about the Aryan invasion? These are fascinating questions to look at, because displacement like this happens constantly. And talking about that, this is up in Belgium. We're now, you know, Belgium is basically it is turning into a Muslim majority minority country. And again, we view all these major religions as in our minds, we see them as tools. They are useful tools, and history will show that time and time again. You know, you could look historically at the popes. You could look historically at so many different times that, you know, it's been used to divide us, and it's always used to divide us. Interesting. 1/3 of Belgium's population now is of foreign origin, and majority of those from Morocco. 99% are Islamic from Morocco. So there is this Islam versus Christianity thing going on, which, again, if you believe the words of Albert Pike in 1871, this is going to be one of the foundational cornerstones of WW3 with the Islamic invasion of Europe, which we can see is already well underway. And it's not just Europe, too. And again, how do we know? You have to, okay, so how do we know that anything in the Bible or in the Quran is true? The reality is it's on faith. You're believing somebody. Look deeper into who you're believing and who you're taking to be the Word of God, because, again, so many people don't look deep enough. And ultimately, they're doing the old, ours is not to question why, ours is but to do or die. And then also, the doing has a lot of death at the other end of it. So whether you succeed or fail, it's all about keeping the system flowing is what it's all about.
It is. And you know, the ones who are at the top of this pyramid of belief systems, they're the ones who are doing all the dirty work, and all the mainstream is supporting them, keeping them up there, while everyone is wondering why all this death and destruction, why all this war, why all this, how come so much famine, how come so much cancer, what's going on when the pyramid, the top of the pyramid's being held up by everyone who believes in this belief system that they've rolled out for the mainstream.
So you have the Maine Secretary of State ruling that 45 is ineligible to appear on the primary ballot. And here we have Maine State Representative John Andrews signals a move to impeach the Maine Secretary of State, Shenna Bellows, for stripping 45 from the ballot. So obviously, and as I've been saying since we began Evolutionary, they want a civil war before the Red Dawn. It's just that simple. And we're really seeing them going fast forward on this. Meanwhile, California Secretary of State rejects the call to remove 45 from the ballot. It's 2024 is the year that is going to be breathtaking. Meanwhile, we have the potential for disrupted polar vortex in January 2024. So we've had a typically warm, slightly warmer than normal to warmer than normal situation for most of us. But when this polar vortex weakens, that's when you get really anomalous, weird weather. And this is the type of thing that happened before when we had those big plunges in Texas and the ice storms and the people that died because they weren't prepared in Texas and Arkansas and Louisiana and in other south central states where the temperatures might go 20 or 30 degrees below. Again, you can look to this as being signs of a geomagnetic pole reversal, absolutely. And I did videos years ago showing about how literally as the magnetic field gets weaker, it's going to split off and branch off into smaller and smaller multiple poles, so to speak, and you'll have just extreme events. However, again, the thing that people don't understand is the level of the technology that is at play here. Really, technology can be doing so much and is doing so much, and people are waking up to those strange clouds. They are waking up to CERN and HARP and all sorts of things, the tens of thousands of satellites that are up in the sky, the white knight and black knight satellites, which have been up there for thousands of years, and other things as well.
I know we've done videos on that, but sometimes it's just fun to go back and revisit and see what else might come up.
Meanwhile, really massive waves in California and in Hawaii, 30 to 40 foot waves. People are being warned about this, and a bunch of people, 20 people, were briefly swept away in one particular wave, 8 people taken to the hospital. As high as telephone poles, 40 feet could slam into San Francisco, 15 to 20 foot waves along the central coast. So, strong winds, just be aware of this out there on the West Coast, and if you're in Hawaii as well. And what do we have here? It's refreshing. Now, there was a tornado over in the UK that did some damage. Unusual, yeah. Well, this is what we have. Extreme and unusual events are the norm. And I do find it interesting, again, when you look back to like the Bible and stuff, they always equate it with God, which again, the first word in the Bible is in the plural, Elohim, mighty ones, powerful ones, rulers and judges. And again, you'll see that echoed all throughout the myths and legends, how the Roman and Greek gods toyed with humanity and watched humanity all the time and would just arbitrarily at will, just bring these disasters. Now, the historians and the scientists and stuff will say, well, they're just rationalizing things. They're just giving personifications to the forces of nature. But you have to look a little closer, Because, like, again, in Sumeria, you go from the deities being personifications of nature to actually individuals walking amongst us. And you have scholars that will bring that up and say, well, the word they use here is different. And this shows that this person was walking amongst the people, actually in his temple, actually demanding the first of everything, the first fruits of the harvest, etc., etc. All these things that get passed on to kingship seem to come about, about 5,000 years ago. It's really curious. Meanwhile, a dam has cracked in Germany due to heavy rains. And then I think the toxic effect of foods that we are eating all the time, you have to recognize most of our food, especially if you're not really looking closely. First off, I would recommend buying organic. If it's not organic, we don't buy it. And if it is organic, we still look very closely and try to determine how organic is it really.
There's a lot of there's a lot of places out there where you can look to see which foods are changing into bioengineered ingredients, because it's changing daily. They're changing the laws daily, what they can put on there, what they can hide. It's just it's really nauseating, so you have to go back to the closer you can get from hand to mouth, the food from your hand to your mouth, or know the farmer, the better off you're going to be. And I know it is such a struggle for moms out there and the kids. They need snacks, and we don't have all day to sit and make the snacks. But what we do need to do, though, is look at the ingredients on the back, because, if your child breaks out in a rash, has eczema, it's probably something that they've changed on the ingredients on one of their favorite snacks. I would check there.
Absolutely. And, think, too, about whatever it is you're just even washing your hands with.
Right.
Washing your dish soap. Is anybody still washing with antibacterial soaps? I hope not, because, again, you're killing everything. And residue builds up. This is part of what you have here. 2 new studies, U.S. Society for Risk Analysis, health risks associated with exposure to these metals from common foods like rice, cereals, nuts, and vegetables. And, there's alarming numbers of things like lead. And when you look at this, and we'll say, okay, take lead. It's found in old paint. Why do we ever put it in paint? Well, one of the things that lead can do is actually shield. We do understand that. But hey, asbestos is dangerous. That's been used. Lead was used in water pipes. Why in the world would they ever use lead in water pipes? And yet, you look back and you just say, well, they were just ignorant. Were they? This is where you have to look a little closer. Because it affects the reproductive system, blood, brain, kidneys, lungs. Again, when we look to the just rampant cancers out there now, there's massive amounts of cancer going on. Cancer is a toxic buildup. This is the thing that keys and triggers cancer. It's a toxic buildup, toxic overload. So we need to detox. That's the thing, and here they have, and they keep going on, always saying, we're working so hard for a cure for cancer. That would take money off of their coffers. That would take so much money away from the system, because the system makes tons of money on cancer, especially if they could treat it well enough that the patient lives and then maybe gets it again and again and again. That's just repeat customers, and this is the reality. You have arsenic found in rice, wheat, leafy grains. Again, we all know about all those things that are sprayed out there now. And, you're given the, you got to keep your lawn perfect. Oh, those nasty dandelions. Do you know how beneficial dandelions are? How many different uses they have?
The dandelion leaves can actually help rebuild the enamel on your teeth. The dandelion is used for so many things, to help the liver, to help the body in so many ways. I just think it's hilarious how they use it as a poster child of, that's the one thing this, I don't know, am I allowed to say the R word? You guys know what we're talking about, that stuff that they use I don't even want to say the name, but they use it to kill all the weeds, just get them all together and kill them all. And they use the dandelion in all those commercials I remember growing up. Yeah, kill those dandelions and they can save your life. I mean, to me, it's just, they're just sitting in their back rooms collecting money, giggling, while people are dying from cancer.
Yeah, think in terms of Scrooge counting his coins. This is exactly how the system is. Meanwhile, they giggle. And they're giggling with this, appeal. Again, we know it's not good, and it could be sprayed on everything organic legally. Again, if you're trusting in any of the alphabet soups, whether we're talking CDC, FDA, et cetera, man, you'd be very, very sad. Long term there. Who is funding it? It's the usual bunch of characters. It's pretty obvious, So here you go. What can you say? I mean, it's the same bunch of characters. How are they even? How? Above the law. There's that Steven Seagal movie, Above the Law. Meanwhile, there you go. It's just another thing that seeps in. I mean, they even tell you here, too. There's organic appeal. Caution. Causes moderate eye irritation. Avoid contact with eyes or clothing. Wear safety glasses when handling. Wash thoroughly with soap and water after handling and before eating, drinking, chewing gum, using tobacco, or using the toilet. Yeah, don't touch down there with this stuff on you because it, cause a poison control center. How are you putting something that you have to be warned, call a poison control center on stuff legally and calling it organic. Generally recognized as safe, for maybe one time. Eat one avocado with it because, again, what do we learn when we go and look at science on more of a quantum level? We understand that most things that appear solid are actually vacuum. So again, things seep into things. They seep into things and then they seep into you. And so, your avocados that you're eating with this on it, your lemons. Yeah, I couldn't find in some stores lemons, limes without them. Even the, organic, every single one of them had it. And so I didn't buy any. And then we found a lady that gave us a whole bag from her yard, like 40 that she had taken from one lemon tree. And it was like, thank you so much, because at least we know these particular ones aren't. And she's wide awake. It's insanity.
Well, this is, kind of what I mean about how are these people still in power? Well, it's because there's so many asleep that they just keep buying it. But if we are sure when we go buy our products, we're not purchasing this, well, it's not going to continue to hold them up forever. But more people need to know. And we are co-creators. This is our consciousness. This is our journey. We do have the ability to turn it around, but we have to make information like this more attainable so people are not buying into it and supporting the mainstream.
Yeah. So anytime anybody is just basically showing us science, I don't believe it. I don't trust it. So some out there that will say, well, this is science and put science up on a pedestal. Well, science is sales, and this is what we're waking up to. Science is sales. You got to look at who funded these studies, who's doing these studies, who's giving us the results of these studies. All the way around, have to really check deeply. 1418 map, Chinese Admiral Zheng showing America 70 years before Columbus discovered it. Yeah, discovered it with millions of people on it, hundreds of millions of people, maybe even billions. And this is where, again, the rewritten history, as what you're looking at over here is that would be Alaska working its way down. That's the Isle of California. And if you're looking pre-1700, you'll find that almost every map that you encounter, I haven't found one pre-1700 that felt reliable that showed California as anything other than an island. And we know that Great Cascadian Quake happened in 1700. So, the thought is, was it really, the smashing in to the North American continent of the Isle of California? If you ever look at why in the world are there so many quakes as far as numbers-wise over here compared to the rest of the world? Because you will see that often, probably half the quakes in the entire world are happening around here. Yeah, small, sure, and sometimes large. But it's because it still hasn't really settled in, is what I really have come to believe. So North America, Central America, as you see down here, Panama, Costa Rica. And I've also noted out there in, many different places, Chinese maps laying claim to America lately. That's another thing. We've had statements. We had statements saying, hey, all the original inhabitants of the Americas originally came from Greater China. Yeah, Mongolian. 2 haplogroups came over. Bering Land Bridge is what we're told, but the reality is, well, wait a minute. You said the Bering Land Bridge, but we could find there's evidence of people going back 35, 40,000 years ago, way before that particular time. But that doesn't really get spoken of as much. That gets swept under, as well as finding bodies of what look to be kind of Europeanish people in Florida. And, at the same time, there are accounts, again, of sailors in their sailors' logs, when they originally came and were looking at the coastline from Europe, from Portugal, from Spain. And it's fascinating to look at it. We landed on this island, and basically everybody looked like they were from Ethiopia. And we landed on this island, and they seemed to be of a different, lighter skinned species, more akin to what we might say maybe came out of Mongolia. And then we went over here to the coast of the Carolinas, and again, it looked like we were, seeing people from Ethiopia or Sudan. And then we go a little bit further, and then we have other, the point is there was all different people of all different races all over the globe. And in fact, the thing they'll never say is the fact that there were extraterrestrials amongst us in these other angels, in these other ages as well. And yes, a lot of the extraterrestrials were taken to be either angels, gods, or demigods.
I think, yeah, definitely. They look at these beings that are here that are so tall and they can do miraculous things, and they must be gods. We'll write about them in our book, So there's that. At one time, it was not a big deal to see them here.
I won't do it, yeah. And it's got the annoying music on. But you could see, look at this. People have talked about how odd the motion and the way the stars are. And it does seem that the stars will communicate with us when we send our consciousness out. Well, they are consciousness, absolutely. But look at the way the light reflects through the bowl of water. And then look at a star up in the sky. Now, this is Nikola 3, and some of the stuff that he does is, I don't agree with, but this was a good one, I thought. Because, yes, absolutely. Again, they'll tell us that space is a vacuum, but it's not a vacuum. And this is part of that disinformation that they want to get us to. And then they'll go to the other extremes too, and they'll say, well, you can never leave Earth. You have the Van Allen belts. You can't crack your way through the dome. It's impossible. But that's also incorrect, because life has been seeded here from elsewhere. This planet that we're on was taken from the remnants of a destroyed planet, and it was reseeded with life by benevolent beings. And then the dark control system came in. And space itself is not a vacuum. And we get that it's more dense than the air, less dense than the water. But you can say it's akin to water in certain respects.
Kind of like a very soupy type of energy. But I thought that was really a beautiful example of the little boy holding the water and the sun shining through that. And you could see, I mean, it looked exactly like a star looks when a star is zoomed in on and it's swirling. But that's what we have picked up, is that it's a soupy mix. It's something not quite water, not quite air, but something right in the middle that surrounds us.
Yeah, this is where I always go to as above, so below. So when we look to cells, what do we have? We have intracellular fluid helping to maintain the integrity, and then you have interstitial fluid out between the cells. So that's how I view it. You could say that our atmosphere is acting like cellular fluid in order to maintain our integrity, but it's a permeable membrane. Think of it as a permeable membrane, because again, certain things can't come in, certain things can't go out. I mean, geez, they hammered that into our heads with the coverings over our faces, yet they didn't really take into account the fact that what they were talking about is things that are so small that it doesn't matter that the coverings were on our faces or not. You know, this is what I think this is really the way to weigh things: as above, so below; as within, so without. Because again, this is a fractal universe. So when you look to the macrocosm, look to the microcosm, and vice versa. And this is exactly what we have: hydrostatic pressure, osmotic pressure. And this is why we have an atmosphere that, yes, we could leave the atmosphere. Many have. And many are coming and going constantly. It's just the hologram in the sky that blocks us seeing all these ships and perhaps other absolutely mind-blowing things that would just shake humanity to the core. If we ever do lose, like, the big grid, and all of a sudden they can't maintain the holograph that's blocking certain planets and other stars from us, then you really might have a lot of people just dropping like flies because they're just passing out because they can't handle, their brains can't process fast enough.
Well, I mean, there's still people out there who look up in the sky and they say, oh, those are just contrails, I mean, they're there. And if you were to actually tell them the truth, they're still in a place where they just don't believe it. They can't believe that. Cognitive dissonance is a very, very, very powerful tool that they count on in so many ways. And not just that cognitive dissonance, but the things that put people in that state, like the information that comes through on a TV screen. I have heard it said that people from the CIA, they say we should throw our TVs out, and that's because they're putting through information on that screen to put us asleep. And how many times have you ever fallen asleep, like listening to the news or watching TV? What is it about that puts us to sleep?
Well, I mean, I noticed an increase in peace working in the yard. I had 2 days where I was working maybe 6 to 8 hours in the yard. And wow, just totally being unplugged, because I don't carry a phone on me, and it just feels amazing. You really start to root and ground. You start to notice all the little sounds, and you listen to the conversations the birds are having, or the dogs, off in the distance, a couple blocks away. They're conversing too. Everything is, nature's always conversing with us.
Well, and you worry a lot less too when you don't have a phone on you, so you're not going to get text messages, you're not going to get an email, you're not going to, have to worry about all of that stuff. I still use it, to keep people on the schedule, keep a hold of family. Of course we do, but it's like I wish I could go to the point where I didn't have to look at it at all. But we have a job to do, and I do love to stay in touch with our regulars, those that we're working with all the time. Sometimes they have emergencies and they need us, but there will be a time and point where we won't have our phones. And some of us can go back to that time and just remember where you weren't going to get any information. So, why bother worrying about it now? But I think there's something about the text messages and the emails. It's like that information is always in the back of your mind. It's like, what's coming next? Especially if you're someone that has something like PTSD, where you've gotten some really bad news. I just don't think it's very settling for the soul. So deliberately creating that time to put down your phone and not look at it, I think is it's a form of healing.
So there is a story that this statue was smuggled out of Tibet by a monk, giving it to a member of the CIA as the communist Chinese were coming and taking over the country. And that it was carbon dated to being 26,000 plus years old, 28,000 years old. I found a fact-check debunker on this statue, and when I traced down what other things they were debunking, it was about the negative effects of the cure. Let's just say that. So you could see how that the structure will try to twist everything and distort our history, distort our past, rewrite everything to suit them. And again, tell you it's just fine. We were showing, I'm going to try to do a video just going back through historical ads, all showing the stuff that was totally okay. Go ahead and smoke those cigarettes as long as they're Camel. You're fine. Most doctors recommend Camel. Or go ahead, fluoride is great for this and that, and on and on with all these different items that we've been told at one time they were okay and then found out they weren't okay. Way after the fact, damage already done. This is exactly how they operate. And again, they want to hide our history from us totally. And they want us to look and focus in certain areas that they've created. Again, put on your sunscreen. Make sure you got your shades on. Don't look into the sun, child. You'll go blind. Yes. Again, there's some truth in some things, but there's not always 100. There's never 100% truth. And again, there's always these motivations. As we know, not recommending anybody to go sun gaze at a noon sun or anything like that. But at the same time, at sunrise and sunset, there are those that have practiced it, and I've done it too. And one of the things I noticed blew my mind when I was doing it at the beach, and in not really a premeditative way. I was just ogling the sunset that was stunning. And then I turned my eyes away and I looked at everybody, and holy cow, with better definition than I've ever seen in my life, I could see everybody's chakras. I could see their crown chakras spinning. I could always see the energy around people, but the clarity that I was watching, the chakras like funnels, and even the colors, the purples, the magentas, the vibrancy of it, that was due to the sun gazing. No wonder they will want you out in the sun.
They definitely don't want your whole body to get any of that good sun.
But don't worry, guys, because this dark age is going to just crumble around us, stay truly organic, and the future's so bright, this guy's got to wear shades.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.